When I retired after 22 years as a master sergeant, I thought I'd finally found peace. The cabin by Clearwater Lake wasn't just property, it was legacy. My grandfather built it with his own two hands, and after he passed, it became mine. I envisioned mornings on the porch with coffee, quiet evenings by the water, and finally a place to breathe. But peace has enemies. The trouble started before I even unloaded the moving truck. Standing at the edge of my driveway with her floral blazer and an expression sharper than barbed wire was Delilah Thornbridge, the self-proclaimed queen of the local HOA. She didn't smile. She didn't welcome me. Instead, she blocked my path and demanded to see my authorization to occupy. "You can't just show up and move into this community," she snapped, clipboard in hand. "We have standards. Your cabin is in violation of at least a dozen HOA regulations. Roof shingles, paint color, dock size, you name it. Until upgrades are approved and completed, you don't belong here." I told her calmly that this was my grandfather's cabin, that it was fully deeded, fully legal, and that I wasn't asking her permission. That only poured gasoline on her fire. By the time I hauled the first box inside, she had already dialed 911. Two patrol cars rolled up not long after, lights flashing against the cabin's cedar walls. Neighbors gathered with their phones, whispering like they'd been waiting for this show. Delilah, beaming now, pointed toward me as though she'd captured a criminal. "There he is. Arrest him. He's a military vagrant squatting in a restricted property. He doesn't belong in this community." Handcuffs glinted in one officer's hands. For a moment, I thought this was going to turn into a nightmare. But then the senior officer stepped closer, studied me, and extended his hand instead. "Master Sergeant Steele?" he said. I nodded. "My father served under you in Kandahar, said you saved his convoy more than once." Instead of being cuffed, I was greeted. Instead of accusations, I received respect. The crowd went quiet. Delilah's smugness faltered. But I wasn't done. I knew Delilah wasn't just a nuisance. She was running a racket. My grandfather had mentioned suspicious fees the HOA had been pushing on elderly residents, mandatory renovations, inflated maintenance bills, threats of fines if they didn't comply. Some who couldn't pay ended up selling their homes, and the properties conveniently wound up in the hands of Delilah's allies. I had proof. My grandfather kept meticulous records, letters, and even receipts of her so-called enforcement payments. So when the officers asked if I had anything to add, I pulled a binder from my truck. "This isn't about shingles or docks," I said. "This is about an HOA president abusing her position to bleed people dry and take control of lakefront property." The officers exchanged looks. Delilah sputtered, but her voice carried no weight now. The neighbors, emboldened, began muttering their own stories: fees, threats, even harassment. One by one, they admitted they'd been too scared to speak. That day didn't end with me in handcuffs. It ended with Delilah standing on her lawn, her empire of intimidation unraveling as the police began an investigation into her so-called upgrades. I moved into my grandfather's cabin that night. The lake was calm, the air was clean, and for the first time in years, I slept like I had on deployment. Only this time, I wasn't guarding anyone else's ground. I was guarding my own. This wasn't just a homecoming. It was the start of a fight to protect my family's legacy, to remind people like Delilah that some men can't be bullied, bought, or broken. And as for the HOA, let's just say they'll think twice before underestimating a steal again.